Welcome to the weekly power rankings. We are definitely in a late season spot of the NBA where there's not going to be too much of a change. You know, some guys are getting hurt and sitting out games like the 76ers. Some guys are coming back from injuries like the Timberwolves. And the Mavericks are losing 2 games in a row to the Hornets. But that is a topic for later on in this video. We're going to start at the bottom of this list with the bottom tier of just these teams that are tanking. They're shamelessly going all in on the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. And if they lose out on that, they'll have either Scoot Henderson or Amen Thompson or who's the guy? Brandon Miller as well to be on their team, hopefully, if the lottery gods project in their favor. With the 30th team is the Detroit Pistons, 16-58. It's not that they're the worst run franchise in the NBA. It's not that they're the most disappointing franchise in the NBA. Just right now at this point, they have the hardest time winning games in the NBA, putting them at 30th in these power rankings. One spot ahead of them with no movement from last week is the Spurs. Their games are a little bit more competitive than the Detroit Pistons are. Keldon Johnson plays really hard. Devin Vassell has come back from injury, and he's been pretty solid. Jeremy Sohan, of course, having a great season, but they traded away Jakob Poeltl. And Greg Popovich is such a good coach at tanking the team. Whenever their team is legitimately close, or they might even be winning going into the third quarter, he'll trot out these disgusting lineups with no shooting. He'll put out, Trey Jones and Blake Wesley, Zach Collins. No, he won't even put out Zach Collins. He'll put out Dominic Barlow and Charles Bass. He'll just put all the really bad young players, make sure nobody plays more than 30 minutes. Pops is doing an incredible job at tanking this season. And at 28th is the Houston Rockets. I have them higher than some of the other teams because their young guys are starting to show a little flash, kind of like how they did last season. They're finishing the season strong, which is a little bit unfortunate for their seeding and for the fact that they lost the majority of the season to absolutely horrible coaching and play from Steven Silas and the young guys. But Jalen Green is looking a little better. Jabari Smith is looking a little better. Of course, they have Alperen Şengün playing well. And Tari Eason has been a very strong rookie. Kevin Porter Jr. is the Rockets, 28th. And that is going to be a tier gap of this team that's just been sitting in their own tier for the entire season because they're not trying to tank. They're just really bad at basketball. And that is the team that beat the Mavericks twice in a row, the Charlotte Hornets. The only thing to say about them is they beat the Mavs twice in a row, which is more of a testament to the pathetic Mavericks squad than it is about the actual Hornets. But Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier can still get you buckets. I really like what I'm seeing from the young guys. Mark Williams looks to be a stud of a center. Great pickup for them. I still would have gone Jalen Duren in the draft, but they went kind of 1 and 2. I even saw Kai Jones and James Bouknight get onto the court. All in all, though, we're just waiting for the offseason for this Hornets squad, and we'll see if Michael Jordan is still the owner come the end of the season. And that is the end of this kind of lower tier. The next tier up of teams is basically teams that are giving up on the season. Now, there is a possibility for some of these teams to make the play-in tournament, but for the most part, there's just not really a promising future for the rest of the season for them. Starting with the Portland Trail Blazers and just brutal end. They're going to be sitting Damian Lillard. I believe that came out. He's just done for the season. They're so bad at basketball. Yusuf Nurkic was out forever. Now they're sitting Anthony Simons as well. Jeremy Grant was not the page turner that they wanted him to be. And did you know that Ryan Arcidiacono is still in the league? What? Because Blazers fans do. Oh my God. They've thrown in the towel. It's another sad season. They refuse to embrace the rebuild. They keep calling it a retool. They don't get top 5 picks. The last top 5 pick they got is Shaedon Sharpe, who looks to be a stud. Are they going to try to hit again in the lottery? I really hope so. I hope that maybe the lottery gods are in their favor a little bit. Maybe they don't get the Greg Oden bad luck, because these young Blazers are honestly a pretty fun team to watch. They're a joy of Shaedon Sharpe with his crazy athleticism, Jabari Walker giving you effort. Keon Johnson, one of my favorite players when he was drafted, is a stud right now. He's just got such great quickness to him, confident jump shot. Nas Little's playing well, Cam Reddish, Matisse Thybulle. They have a lot of young, interesting players on their squad. Going to be interesting to see how they close out the season. Hopefully they just throw the ball to Shaedon Sharpe, make him the number 1 option, and just give him a million shots a game and see what he can produce for them next season. At 25 is the Magic, officially jumping out of this tier. They've started to win games. They're 32-43, competing for the play-in tournament. And look, any playoff experience is good playoff experience for this team. Do I think they have a team that can go win a championship in the future? I still think they're 1 or 2 pieces away, but they're a good team, and I like what Jamal Mosley is doing with this squad. 24th is the Washington Wizards, and I just hate everything about the Wizards front office. First of all, I wish they would foster Johnny Davis. They're playing him like KCP or a catch and shoot 3-point shooter when they should be trying to play him like Devin Booker, get him some touches, have him catch the ball running off screens, open up the mid-range for him. But that would be asking the Wizards to do something smart, which they're allergic to. Asking the Wizards to do something smart is like asking a Motel 6 for clean sheets. This Wizards franchise is sad and sorry, and they're 33-42. At 23rd is the Utah Jazz, going to be coming down they're starting to lose games finally. They've been such a 500 team for the entire season, and they continue to trade players away, and they continue to win games. They just play hard, man, and that's going to win a lot of games in today's NBA where teams load manage, where teams don't care about the regular season. The Jazz are going to play you tough. Chris Dunn is going to give you everything he's got. Lauri Markkanen, same thing, but they're just not very talented. And at 22 is the Indiana Pacers, and that loss to the Celtics was really a good measuring stick for this Pacers squad, who's kind of looking to sneak their way into the playoffs. They got blown out. They're just not the same caliber of team as the Boston Celtics are. I'd like to see them get a nice pick in this year's lottery, clear a little cap space, offer a guy like Jaylen Brown to a max contract, and come in to be their wing star. Tyrese Halliburton, Ben Mathurin, Jaylen Brown, Miles Turner lineup with whoever they find at the 4, maybe Jarris Walker. That's a championship roster, man. This Pacers squad has the makings of being a great team in the near future. And that is the end of the teams that is kind of in this bottom tier, looking to improve their lottery odds. And this next tier of teams is teams that I just say yikes when I watch, starting with the Mavericks, who are falling precipitously. Now, they have a lot of issues right now, starting with Luka Doncic. He is just a problem emotionally, physically. The complaining is at an all-time high. He gets teed up every single game. And I know you saw some articles saying that it's impacting his game and he's not enjoying the game of basketball at all. His fitness is at an all-time low, which is remarkable for somebody to actually get in worse shape as this season progresses. He doesn't care. He doesn't play defense. Now he literally can't play defense. Anybody who's dribbling the ball and driving past him, it could be freaking Draymond Green, will go right around him because he offers no resistance on the defensive end, and it's a weakness for this team. And honestly, with respect to Luka Doncic, I think you just call this year a wash. You say, you know what, Luka, go back to Slovenia, go somewhere to get your head right, do what Ja Morant did, and just find the joy in basketball again, because he's not having fun. He's not playing good basketball. He's not playing winning basketball. There is nothing good about this Mavericks situation for him right now. I know they decided to go all in on the Kyrie Irving trade. Kyrie Irving can't play defense. Tim Hardaway Jr. is in and out of the lineup. Jaden Hardy, now they're relying on him way too much. He can't play defense. They still don't have a center. They're trotting out Christian Wood and Dwight Powell every single game and thinking that something is going to change. This Mavericks squad is a problem, starting with their unhappy leader of the franchise. As for the coaching, when Jason Kidd trots out a Jaden Hardy, Josh Green, Reggie Bullock, Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell lineup in the 4th, you know that the game is pretty much over and this team needs to go and get better players, because it is a horrible roster that they're trying to play with. And people are going to complain, oh, how does Luka and Kyrie Irving fit? They fit fine if the rest of your team is good. They have no defense and their roster construction is poor. Just look at the guys who get played right now: Christian Wood, Maxi Kleber, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Jaden Hardy, Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr., Frank Ntilikina, Justin Holiday. And then they have 5 or 6 DMP CDs every single game: Markieff Morris, Davi Bertans, McKinley Wright, JaVale McGee, Theo Pinson. This team is poorly put together. And even after all of that, this team theoretically has the talent to rally. You have a Kyrie Irving, you have a Luka Doncic. They proved last year Dwight Powell can fit as a backup center. Luka can do Luka things. Kyrie can be clutch, but their head coach is Jason Kidd. Jason, I'm watching just like you guys, kid. Who needs to go worse than fleas on a dog?
I'm watching just like you guys.
I know not too long ago, the Mavericks were kind of top 10-ish, right on the outside looking into this playoff seeding, but right now it is bad basketball in Dallas. And that is the end of my rant on the Dallas Mavericks. At the 20th spot is the Bulls, continuing their bewildering season of beating the best teams and losing to the worst teams. They really have nothing to lose here because they don't even have the rights to their first round pick this season. So good luck. Go as far as you can in the playoffs, which is probably a first round exit if they even make it out of the plane. At 19th is the Raptors, just a really steady, solid 500 team at this point. Now that Jakob Poeltl is here, they have a bona fide center. They're still dealing with inconsistencies from Fred VanVleet and, of course, Gary Trent Jr. Pascal Siakam has looked a little better. Scott Barnes, I think, has come back from injury. All in all, the team is okay, just really under-talented. They don't have a superstar right now, and that's kind of been the problem for them this whole season. After that is the WTF, is the NBA tier, because every single one of these teams is competing for either the 3rd or 4th seed, or they're competing to be out of the playoffs in 2 games. This season in the NBA has been absolutely bizarre. But at 18th is the Pelicans, who are actually starting to win games. They're getting a 5-game boost because, all things being equal, I completely counted them out. I said this season is done. This season is a wash. Willie Green needs to go. Break up the core. Zion and BI cannot work together because they cannot stay healthy. And look, maybe they don't even need Zion Williamson to come back and play. They just need the threat that he might come back. And that's going to be good enough to get them over the top and have them start playing good basketball again. Who knows with this Pelican squad, but they are currently sitting at 500. 17th is the Thunder, jumping up a spot, mostly because the Mavericks are crashing. This season is just house money for the Thunder. Anything that they do or don't do is great because they could get a high draft pick, they could get a low draft pick, they could make the playoffs and get some experience, they could not. It's all just house money for the Thunder at this point. Next season is when the expectations start. At 16th is the Nets, kind of the same thing because they don't have their own draft pick. They lose some really, really awful games, and then they'll come out and blow out the Heat by like 30. So just a weird season for the Nets, still sitting here at 16th. Gonna make the playoffs because they were so good at the beginning of the season, but I don't expect much from them. And at 15th is the Hawks, 37-38. I'll say it again. I said it last week. New coach, same problems. They're just the most mid team ever. If there was some tweet where it was like the last 2 games, they're 1-1. The last 4 games, they're 2-2. The last 6 games, they're 3-3. The last 8 games, they're 4-4. They just continue to win and then lose and then win and then lose. There's no consistency to this team whatsoever, and they really need they need DeAndre Hunter to step up. Can you believe that DeAndre Hunter was a number 4 overall pick? Talk about a disappointing player. Here at 14th is the Minnesota Timberwolves, jumping up 3 spots again. They've just been in this tier for the entire season, but it's good to see Karl Anthony Towns back healthy. It's been a long season for the Timberwolves fans without him. And then the first 2 games that he plays, he comes in, hits 2 free throws to go ahead, take the lead, and win that game. Then he goes up against the Warriors and hits a basically game-winning 3 in transition with 9 seconds left. Just having this guy on your team immediately boosts you into playoff contention, possibly kind of similar to what the Mavericks did last season of maybe making the Western Conference Finals, being a legit competitor. This team has the talent. And at 13th is the Lakers, and I'm watching this improved Lakers squad when it wasn't playing with LeBron, and they just fight. Dennis Schroeder, Hillbilly, Kobe and Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, the ever-athletic Lonnie Walker, Wenyen, No Quit Gabriel, all these guys have a chip on their shoulder and they're hustling to win games. And then you have D'Lo, who's been hurt for the majority of the time he's been in LA, but he's obviously good. Anthony Davis will play every now and then. And I know that they lost as soon as LeBron James came in, but I think this team still has the capacity to turn it up to another level, maybe compete to come out of the West. And at 12th is the Golden State Warriors, and the Dubs are just, they turn the ball over so often. It's frustrating to watch. They have the capacity to be a really good team. You see their home and away record. If they just played like that all the time like they do at home, minus the turnovers, they're a top 5 team, man. Steph Curry is just so good. Jordan Poole, I know he makes boneheaded mistakes, but he has the capacity to be an incredible player. He was pivotal on their run last season. Hopefully Andrew Wiggins comes back because they really need his defense and size. But they can be so good if they just stop making boneheaded decisions and mistakes every single game. They had the game wrapped up against the Timberwolves, and then Draymond Green just throws the ball away like a dunce. That's basically the entire season for the Golden State Warriors summed up into one possession. And at 11th is the Clippers. I never thought I'd see a Clippers squad with Kawhi in and PG out. Paul George, although he's been in and out of the lineup, has kind of been the steadying force for this team. But now Paul George is out for probably the first round of the playoffs, I would say, with that injury. And it's going to be interesting to see how this team bounces back, if they bounce back, because it's been a really sad, sorry state of affairs for Clippers fans for the entire year. And the last of this WTF is the NBA tier, the Miami Heat. And the Heat only know one way to win, and that is through ugly, defensive, grinded out 99 to 97 games where Jimmy Butler will come up clutch, or Tyler Hero will make a weirdly contested fading away out of bounds 3. If a team even so much as hits a few 3s in a row, you better pack it up and call it a day, because the Heat do not score in bunches. They play tough defense and score by 2s. And that is the end of the WTF is the NBA tier. Next up, I split these teams up last week into a consistent and inconsistent team. Now they're all kind of blending in. So all of these teams definitely could be considered as championship contenders. Maybe. Starting with the Suns, of course, because if Kevin Durant comes back and he's exactly how he showed when he played his, 3 games with the Suns, and Devin Booker takes off and Cliff Paul doesn't look like he's a million years old, and DeAndre Ayton plays some semblance of hard, this team obviously has the best odds to come out of the West, maybe to win the whole damn thing. But there's just so many question marks top to bottom with this team, mostly with respect to injuries and what does DeAndre Ayton give you? How angry is Monty Williams going to get at DeAndre Ayton and play Ish Wainwright over him or whatever? So at number 8 is the New York Knicks, falling down a couple spots just because Jalen Brunson is out. And these games without JB is really showing you that Julius Randle's a number 2, maybe even a number 3. The whole key to this offense, the whole key to the New York Knicks machine is Jalen Brunson being in, slowing the game down, making sure they play smart, making sure they make the right plays. Julius Randle needs him to lead the team. RJ Barrett is a third option at best, and they play tough defense, but they need an offensive starter. Miles McBride isn't going to cut it. Derrick Rose doesn't even play anymore, isn't going to cut it. They just need Jalen Brunson to get back, and maybe they can make it possibly to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think they have a much higher ceiling than that, but with JB, they're good. Without JB, they're bad. Simple as that. At number 7 is the Denver Nuggets, and I have them a little bit lower than everybody else. I know they were rolling earlier in the season, then they went on a losing streak, and now they're back on a winning streak, just ups and downs, ups and downs. That's the problem when you don't play defense. Nikola Jokic is a bad defender, and Michael Porter Jr. is in and out of games, and the rest of their team isn't very good. Their bench is pretty pathetic outside of guys like Christian Braun, and that's all I can think of that offers them anything. Mike Malone is a questionable head coach at best. I feel like number 7 is a really good spot for these Denver Nuggets. Ahead of them, jumping up, is the Grizzlies with Ja Morant back. I disagree basically with everything about how this was handled, how long the suspension was, what treatment is, putting guns on Instagram, but at the end of the day, Ja Morant is back playing basketball, and the Grizzlies are flying yet again. And at number 5 is the Sacramento Kings, falling down a spot here, but can you believe that the Kings and the Bucks have been the most consistent teams this year? Talk about small market franchises, man. The Kings have just been a steady force. If they won those 4 games at the beginning of the season that they got screwed out of, they'd be a 49 and 25 win team right now, possibly in contention to take that number 1 seed. I'm just saying, the Kings are just so rock solid, steady. Hopefully they continue this trend and maybe make the Western Conference Finals, if not making the actual finals and competing for their first championship in Sacramento. I know they won in Rochester when they were the Rochester Royals or whatever. That doesn't count. The first ring of Sacramento franchise's history. At number 4 is the Celtics, starting to return a little bit to the form that they were. They're just so much better when Robert Williams plays. He's probably the most underappreciated stud defensive anchor center in the NBA. He's in and out of the lineup, inconsistently hurt all the time, doesn't have much of an offensive skill set, but he plays so hard, anchors their defense. He's a block machine. When Robert Williams is in, this team just clicks on all cylinders. Everybody fills their spots so well. Al Horford doesn't have to do as much, but when he's out, it's kind of questionable at best. They have to fill in his role with guys like Mike Muscala and Luke Cornett, and it diminishes their defensive abilities. At number 3 is another team that's been really steady, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm probably a little bit higher on them than most teams are. We need to give some respect to the double big lineup, man. Jared Allen is playing locked down. He might be in contention for best rim running center in the NBA alongside Clint Capella. Obviously, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell just do great things on the court. All in all, this team is just really steady. I don't know if they have top end talent, championship aspirations, but they're really close and can compete when the playoffs come around. And that is the end of this definitely maybe tier. At the top is only 2 teams, the elite, the best of the best. And I have the 76ers actually falling down a spot because Doc Rivers is going to ruin this postseason. I'm just calling it now. I watched that double overtime game against the Bulls. Joel Embiid got 5 fouls. James Harden was just sitting around, and the entire offensive was give the ball to Joel Embiid with 20 seconds left on the shot clock and pray that he makes something. And then Joel Embiid fouls out, and then he said, all right, give the ball to James Harden and pray that he makes something. And then that was it. They lost to the Bulls, I think, and it was just an embarrassing offense. Doc Rivers has head-scratching rotations like playing Dwayne Dedman, or should I say the corpse of Dwayne Dedman. I can just feel it right now. And the losses don't bother me because the next few weeks are going to be completely irrelevant. The ranking of the postseason teams doesn't really matter. Get the 1 seed, don't get the 1 seed. It's not a big deal. The goal is to get into the playoffs, stay healthy, maybe go on a little bit of a streak before the seeding is set. They're losing these games without James Harden right now. It's a small knock against the team, not a big deal, but you can see all the makings for this to be another disappointing Doc Rivers postseason with the rotations, with playing guys who just come back from injury like 42 minutes in a regular season games. I just see the writing on the wall, man, and I'm worried about Philadelphia 76ers fans and their mental health. And at number 1 is the Milwaukee Bucks. They're just really steady. I know they lost to the Nuggets in their last game. I'm not worried about that. It was one of those games where you just couldn't make a 3. They went 9-26, 25%. You're not going to win a lot of games on the road when you can't make a single 3-pointer. But the Bucks are just such a rock solid, steady team. Giannis plays, he's a beast. Giannis doesn't play, they win. Chris Middleton plays, he's money. He doesn't play, they still win. Drew Holiday just been the most consistently solid player on that team, wire to wire. Brook Lopez in the defensive player of the year conversation. such great depth with guys like Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, even Javon Carter offering them legitimate minutes. I don't believe in this roster top to bottom. I'm not the hugest fan of Coach Bud, but all in all, this team is just a force to be reckoned with and is going to be mean come playoff time. And that is going to do it for this week's Power Rankings. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and I'll catch you in the next one.